From the unreal to the real. From darkness to light.
A handful of pages that hold an entire path.
I'm Theo.
And I'm Lena.
This is At the Feet of the Master.
We're glad you're here for the walk.
Today we're dropping right back into the middle of a conversation that's already moving.
Yep, we're picking things up mid-stride, which gives today a slightly different feeling.
So for anyone just joining us, this show is a slow walk through At the Feet of the Master, taking it one quality at a time. We're currently on the third quality, good conduct, which is large enough that we had to split it into two halves.
Right. So the last episode was all about the weather inside us, steadying the mind, the temper, the moods, and then letting that steadiness turn into how we actually act. We used that image of tuning an instrument so it stops rattling.
And today is the outward half. The same book, the same idea of tuning, but now pointed directly at other people. We've got 4 more points to cover, and every single one of them is really about how you meet the world. So what are they? We've got tolerance, cheerfulness, doing one thing at a time, and finally, a kind of deep confidence.
So if part 1 was the instrument, part 2 is the music it actually makes when it's around other people. That's a nice way in.
That's exactly it. And he opens with tolerance, with a line that sets the bar super high. He says, "You must feel perfect tolerance for all."
Perfect tolerance, which is already a tall order, right? But the part that struck me is what he means by it. 'Cause it's more than just putting up with people.
Oh yeah, like much more. He says you should have a hearty interest in the beliefs of someone from another religion, just as much as in your own, because, in his view, their path is a way toward the higher, the same as yours. And there's this line, "To help all, you must understand all."
And that word hearty is doing a lot of work, isn't it? He's not saying like, grit your teeth and tolerate the people who believe differently. He's saying take a genuine, warm interest in what they believe, which is a completely different posture.
It is, and he's clear about the precondition for it too. He says, before you can feel that kind of tolerance, you first have to be free of your own bigotry. You've got to clear it out of yourself before you can meet anyone else cleanly.
Which I find a little bit convicting, because it's so easy to think of tolerance as something I extend to other people, like I'm being generous. And he's flipping it. He's saying, no, first go find the hardness in yourself.
And he has this lovely, gentle image for how to hold the beliefs you've personally moved past. He talks about old ceremonies, old practices that might now seem unnecessary to you. And he says, respect them anyway, for the sake of the people they still help. And then the image. He compares them to the double lines that guided you as a child when you were learning to write.
Oh, I just love this one. Such a good analogy. So you know those lines on the page that kept your letters straight and even when you were small? And then, at some point, you didn't need them anymore. And you wrote freely without them. But you don't sneer at the lines. They did their job. There was a time you needed them too. And what I like about it is that it kills the contempt before it can start. 'Cause the easy thing, when you've moved past something, is to look back and feel a bit smug about the people still in it. The image just quietly refuses that. The lines weren't wrong. They were right, for then.
And that, I think, is the whole spirit of his tolerance. Not like, I've outgrown this and you're behind me. More like, this helped me once, and it's helping you now, and that's enough.
But can I sit on the uncomfortable edge of that for a second? 'Cause it is there. Even the phrase, that which you have outgrown, carries a faint whiff of superiority, doesn't it? There's a version of this where I'm being like, terribly tolerant and gracious toward all the little people still using their training wheels.
And that's a fair worry, and worth naming, because the book itself seems alert to it. The whole reason he reaches for the childhood image, I think, is to take the condescension out. You weren't stupid for needing the lines. Neither are they. It's not a ladder of better and worse. It's just where each person is.
And there's a second tension I keep bumping into here, which is the more modern one. If I have perfect tolerance, hearty interest in every belief, every path is valid, where does that leave conviction? Doesn't it slide into a kind of, well, everything's equally true, nothing really matters thing?
I mean, I don't think he necessarily goes that far, though I understand why it might read that way. He pairs the tolerance with a clear boundary. He says, let others hold their beliefs and practices freely, but they must not force theirs on you, and you must not force yours on them. So it isn't like nothing matters. It's more like your conviction doesn't give you a license to coerce or to look down. You can hold what you hold and still meet the other person with warmth.
So, tolerance of the person and their path, which isn't the same as agreeing that all things are equal. Those can coexist. Okay, right. That helps.
And then he moves to the second point, cheerfulness, which I want to slow right down for, because it's the one I think is most easily misread, and honestly, the one that can do harm if we're careless with it.
Agreed. Let's take our time with this one. Because read quickly, this section can sound almost alarming. He talks about bearing your karma cheerfully and taking it as an honor that suffering comes to you. And then he says, be thankful that it is no worse.
He does, and the most intense version comes a little further on. He says, give up all feeling of possession, and he means it widely. He says your karma may take from you the things you like best, even the people you love most, and that even then you must be cheerful, ready to part with anything.
And I have to just stop there and be honest, because told flatly, that is a hard, even cruel-sounding thing, which is like just not going to fly, right? Be cheerful about losing the people you love most? That can land as like the worst kind of spiritual bypassing. Paste a smile over your grief and call it holiness.
And we have to be really clear that the cruel reading is not the one we'd ever stand behind. The same way we were careful with that line about low moods last time. He's not, I think, telling a grieving person to be glad they're grieving. If anyone hears this in the middle of a real loss, please don't take it as a command to feel cheerful. That would definitely be a misuse of it.
So if we set that cruel reading aside, which we have to, what's the kernel that's actually worth keeping here?
Two things, I think. First, this idea of karma. It's about meeting hardship without collapsing into self-pity. Not be happy you're suffering, more like don't let the suffering also make you bitter.
And that distinction is super important, isn't it? There's the pain itself, which is very much real and you feel it fully. And then there's the second layer we pile on top, the whole like, why me, the it's not fair bit, the resentment. And that second layer is the one I personally see he's actually going after, the self-pity, not the sorrow itself.
That's exactly where I land too. The sorrow is allowed. The grievance is the thing he's asking you to set down, because it doesn't lighten the loss. It just adds a second weight to it.
And what about the possession part? Giving up the feeling of ownership, even over people, because that one still unsettles me. It can sound cold, like he's telling you to love people at arm's length so it hurts less.
And I don't read it as coldness, though I'll admit this is me interpreting gently. I think the thing he's pointing at is the difference between loving someone and owning them. That, grip, you know? The part of love that's really about my needing you to stay, my fear of losing you. He's not saying love less. He may be saying, hold them without the clenching, because the clenching was never the love anyway.
Loving someone with an open hand instead of a closed fist. That I can sit with, even if it's the work of a whole lifetime. So it's not about loving less at all. It's loving without the panic underneath it.
That's beautifully put, Lena. And he does touch the whole mood thing again here, like the idea that if you sink into gloom, you can't be much use to anyone. We talked about that carefully last time, so I'll just say the same compassion applies. It's the gentler observation that the heaviness we carry has a way of reaching the people around us.
Okay, so yeah, that's the heavy one. Where does he go next from here?
Somewhere much lighter, thankfully. The third point is one-pointedness, and it's a simple idea, really. Do one thing at a time, and just, give it everything. He says, whatever you're doing, do it with your whole attention, as if it were the only thing in the world.
And he has this striking way of framing it. He says, imagine you knew that the person you most respect was about to walk in, and look at the work you're doing right now. Do all your work as if that were true. Which is such a vivid little test, right?
It is, and there's an old line he leans on. Do it heartily, as though you were doing it for what's highest, and not just to impress other people. So it's not about performing for an audience. It's about a kind of inner wholeness in the doing.
And honestly, this might be the most quietly radical one for us now. because we live in the exact opposite of it. We do like 5 things at once, all of them about 60%. Half listening to someone while we check our phones. The whole texture of modern attention is scattered, and we've almost started to wear it as a badge. Like being pulled in 10 directions proves how busy and important we are. One-pointedness sounds almost foreign against all that, almost like a lost skill.
Oh yeah, totally. And there's a real dignity in the reverse that he's describing. Doing one ordinary thing completely. Washing the one dish like it's the only dish. Being in the one conversation as if there's nowhere else to be. It sounds small, but it's a different way of being alive.
Though I do want to test one edge of it, because he says nothing should ever turn you aside from the path, not even, in his words, worldly affections. And that could read as, neglect the people you love for the sake of your great purpose.
And I'd push back on that reading, because the book has already guarded against it. Remember last time, he insisted you do your ordinary duties, and do them better than anyone. And here he says something that dissolves the worry, that all genuinely helpful, unselfish work is itself the path. So loving and caring for people isn't a distraction from it. It's part of it.
So one-pointedness isn't a tunnel that shuts everyone out. It's more about not being scattered and half-hearted in whatever you're actually doing, including being with the people you love.
That's how it holds together for me. Wholeness, not narrowness. And then the last of the 4 points, confidence, which is where the whole section seems to land its weight.
And this one has the lines that everybody remembers, doesn't it? The big, almost startling claims about who you really are.
It does. He says you must trust your teacher and you must trust yourself. And then he anticipates the obvious objection. He imagines you saying, "But I know myself too well to trust myself." And his answer is sharp. He says, if you feel that, you don't actually know yourself. You only know the weak outer shell, the part that has stumbled and fallen many times.
And then comes the line. He says, but the real you are a spark of God's own fire. And because of that, there's nothing you cannot do if you truly will it. He even gives you words to say. What man has done, man can do. I can do this thing, and I will.
And that your will must be, in his phrase, like tempered steel.
And I'll be the skeptic again, because part of me hears that and thinks, isn't this just grand positive thinking? Just like affirmations in a robe? Tell yourself you're a spark of the divine and go conquer. Like, that can curdle into pure ego just as easily.
Yeah, fair challenge. But what saves it from being mere positivity, I think, is the honesty right next to it. He doesn't pretend the stumbling self isn't real. He names it plainly, the husk that falls into the mire. So it's not, you're flawless, believe in yourself. You really do fail. And underneath the failing, there's something the failures don't reach.
So it's not the hollow kind of confidence, the inflated, fragile kind that needs constant propping up. It's more like a quiet floor under you, a trust that whatever you've made a mess of, you can still do hard things. And the two of them living side by side is the part I find honest. It's like, I am the one who keeps stumbling, and I'm also something steadier than the stumbling. Most of the time, we might only believe the first half, but he's asking us to believe the second half too, at the same time.
That's the distinction for me. And the trust in something beyond yourself, the teacher, you can read more widely if the religious frame isn't yours, as a trust in something steadier than your own anxious, scrambling mind. The point is the same. Without some trust, the anxious self has nothing to stand on, and even help cannot reach you.
And when you line the 4 of them up, they really do hang together as one picture, don't they? How a steady person actually moves through a world that's full of other people.
They do. Tolerance, so you meet others with warmth instead of contempt. Cheerfulness, so hardship doesn't curdle into bitterness. One-pointedness, so you're fully present in what you do. And confidence, so you're not paralyzed by your own smallness. It's the tuned instrument, finally out among people, playing.
So maybe the things to try today, or this week, are small and concrete, firstly. The next time you're with someone whose views you find a bit absurd, try meeting them with real curiosity instead of correction. Just ask and actually listen.
And secondly, Pick one ordinary task today or this week, like the most boring one you can find, and do it with your complete attention, as if it were the only thing. See what that's like.
Okay, and maybe a third. Maybe. The next time something goes against you, catch the moment you reach for the whole "it's not fair" thing, and just see if you can feel the disappointment without the grievance on top. Not always possible, but worth noticing.
Oh, that's a goodie. I think I might actually try that myself.
So that's where we're going to wrap things up for today. And if this kind of thing speaks to you, our show is part of a growing family of shows over at Pillar 5 Media. Different hosts, different books, all of us trying to take something deep and make it feel a bit more like a conversation with a friend. You'll find all the shows at pillar5media.com.
And that's pillar, then the number 5 as a numeral, media.com. Next time, it's the big one, the fourth and final quality, love. The one the book says is the most important of all, the one it claims pulls all the others into place. And we'll tie the whole book together and touch, lightly, on the strange turn the young author's life took afterward.
And considering it's about love, it's the heart of the whole thing, really. Pun intended. So we're glad to be saving it for last. Thanks for listening and being with us today. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.